there are a lot of people, a lot of women, I think, who find themselves in a repetitive cycle of unhealthy relationships, men as well, no doubt about it. But like, since I've got you on here, I want to talk about that. There are two elements. One, there's a natural intuition that comes up to them and says, this is not good for you. It's a soft feeling in your gut. It's that soft voice in the back of your head, which if you've trained yourself to listen to really well, then it'll pop up and you'll hear it. But if you haven't trained yourself to listen to it really well, then you ignore it. And your ego or your pattern say, no, go for this. It's okay. It'll work out. I can change him. I can fix him, and then that moment, what happens is all of that intuition runs out the window, and that growth that you were having in breaking that old pattern, that vanishes. Have you ever been in that situation where when you're getting into a relationship with someone, you're like, you know what? I can change this person. I can change this person and they can give me the love I want. I can fix them and then they can give me the love I want. Have you been in that situation before?
Yeah. Both marriages and several guys that I dated. And I also think, yes, I can change them, but I also think this, I'm special enough that they'll change for me. Like I think that if they love me enough, then they'll do this. If they love me enough, I love that saying of when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time, and you'll save yourself a lot of heartache. And so instead of me believing people for who they are, when they show me who they are, I try to say, well, I try to change them and I try to control them. But again, that's me pointing my finger outside of myself, looking at them, because that's a distraction of what's really hard for people, which is me looking at me. And that's where growth comes. So I spent a lot of my life, ignoring that until like 7 years ago, like I said.
Why do you think we want to, and I've specifically noticed this more in women, why do you think women want to fix a man to get them to love them? Why do you think that they want that? Why do you think that they put so much effort and energy and sacrifice and abandon themselves instead of finding someone who can already love them? Instead of finding someone who can already show up for them and meet their needs and give them the love and respect, why do you think they go after someone who can't do that and try and convince that person to give them their needs and love them?
Because
in your experience,
and I think it's totally tied to my childhood, because that's what I saw my mom try to do with my dad. That's what I saw in their dynamic, in their marriage. And so that's who I was subconsciously attracted to, those types of men in my life, because that felt familiar to my brain and to my nervous system. It feels unfamiliar when I attract a really nice guy.
Yes.
Sort of right now, so we can talk about that in a minute or whenever you're ready. But and I've been aware of that, like this feeling of, oh wow. And I almost think to myself, like, he's so consistent with his communication, and I almost think to myself, like, can he just like not call me for a day? Like him more?
Oh my God,
that's ridiculous. It's what I'm used to, and I need that chaos to like keep to stay interested.
That again, I love how perceptive you are about it and how you've learned to see and you have this awareness about your own self, your own patterns, and how it happens. And I want to take a minute to provide a monologue to everybody listening as to why and how we actually do this. And if we've had an unhealthy idea of love, either replicated to us by our parents or environment that we were in, or even the love that we received, because more likely than not, if our environment had an unhealthy idea of love, or not a stable, grounded, safe idea of love, more likely than not, that's also what we received, a not stable, safe idea of love. So like you said, our nervous systems get used to this. Now, more likely than not, people who experience this, and we're talking about women here, grow into what we call like the anxious attachment, where you want someone's love in order for you to feel safe. But your idea of love is things that we just called either broken, or things that are damaged, or things that don't know how to show up for you, because that's the love you received. Emotionally unavailable or emotionally unhealthy or incapable men, because that's not just what maybe father figures were, that's just what we received. And so this becomes the idea of love that is saved within us, so much so that if we go out into the universe looking for relationships, we're only going to look for this because this is what we want. We want broken love so that we can try and fix it, because then that makes us feel valuable. We want someone who can't give us meet our needs, because if we try and get them to meet our needs, then we've proved to ourselves that we're loving, worthy, and valuable. Because just by ourselves, we don't believe that we're lovable, we're worthy, or we're valuable. So we need the broken thing to fix it, to then feel that way. But here's something really crazy that happens. Like you just said, what happens if you meet someone who is capable of love? What happens if you meet someone who is healthy? People don't get this, but your nervous system goes through something called the flippening, where if it's not used to this idea of healthy love, an anxious person who naturally needs or wants someone's love so desperately, is craving, their partner, their boyfriend, their maybe their parents' love or society's love. When someone starts to give them love in a healthy manner, their entire psyche shifts. It goes from anxious to avoidant temporarily, just to avoid secure love. So it basically goes from someone who, has been chasing someone, to when you find someone approaching you, trying to give you healthy love, you flip to the other side. And their approach of healthy love, you start to find it as too much, too needy. You're like, oh my God, what's wrong with you? Give me some space. Then you talk to your girlfriends and you're like, Jesus, this guy just won't, he doesn't get it. Like he's too much. When in truth, that's just secure, healthy love. But we're so used to emotionally unavailable people. We're so used to emotionally unhealthy love that at this point we reject it and we shame it, judge it, do whatever we can. We find it unattractive so that our psyche can go back to what we're used to, which is chasing after broken people, unavailable people, so that we can try and fix them and convince them to love us. Isn't that fucking crazy that our minds and our nervous systems can do that?
It totally makes sense though.
Yeah, it's insane. So let me ask you last question before I want to go into the current dating. What have you done for yourself to be able to create more safety internally, increase your self-validation, all of that stuff, and be able to create a healthier love for yourself? What have you done to be able to do that?
A lot of different things. So, dating back to, I think the first thing that I did for myself was probably 8 or 9 years ago. I took this 3-day emotional healing course on codependency and relationships. That was pretty amazing, where we did a lot of hypnosis and like closing our eyes and visualizing and journaling and all the things. Okay. I've had therapy for a good, since I was 30 some odd years old. I mean, not like every single week for 20 years, but, probably every single month for a long time. I love my therapist. Right. And I also did a week-long emotional healing journey called the Hoffman Process, which is in California. That was amazing too.
Right.
But something that I've done recently that has actually made the biggest impact is your program, the Gauntlet.
You're not saying that just because we're live, right? You're being
no,
honest.
I'm really not. I'm really not, because I honestly learned more from your 8-week online course than I did from that week-long course that was in person.
Wow.
Because, in your course, I mean, you were just like, you have so much wisdom and knowledge, and I learned so much from you. But, learning how to, so many tools that I can actually use in everyday life. Like if I start to get triggered, I know I can do breath work. Mm-hmm. I can close my eyes and meditate. I can grab my journal. I can go on a walk. I can, dance in my kitchen. Like if I need to bring out my inner child, like you also taught me a lot about the inner child healing, which is, like there's a little girl inside of me, and there's a little girl inside of all of the women listening that wants to be loved and that deserves to be loved and wants to be seen and have fun and validated. And no one can do that for her except you, except me. Yes. And for so long I was asking the men in my life to do that. So that about
I like how you said, like, for so long in your life you were asking the men in your life to do that. And I'm really grateful. I also want to say I'm proud of myself, because we have a very bad time celebrating ourselves with technology. I'm proud of myself I know you graduated from the session last night, for being able to sit with all of you beautiful women who are in my group, and to have given you that gift that you can now show yourself you are lovable, valuable, and worthy and loved. It's as simple as like that little breath work we did before we started this session, right? And in the breath work, we were calming ourselves down. We were getting ready and not feeling anxious. And I guided us by saying that we are just little children who are showing up here to play. And we can see those children. We can see that, as a child, I don't need anyone's permission, validation, or approval to play. I can just be creative. I can be myself. I can be loving. And we are those loving parental figures who are giving ourselves permission as little children in that moment to have that. And normally we give that same permission to society. We give that same permission to our partners. We give that same permission, well, we did to our parents growing up, but we give it to everybody else. And what happens if they don't give us that permission? What happens if they don't give us that acceptance? What happens if they don't let us be those little children? What happens if they put that pressure on us of their own wounds, their own triggers, of expectations to be better? Then we've lost that love inside. And that literally the only like love where we'll feel is when they give us morsels of like connection, validation, attention, that little tiny bit, and that's about it. So I'm grateful that through my own learnings and lessons, I created that program of showing people how to love themselves rather than being dependent on the entire world to be able to love us, So
Yeah.
thank you for being a part of that program. I'm grateful for myself that it's provided you that much value. And I hope that whoever's listening, if you need help, the first step is the most important step, which is to just reach out and ask for it, to be vulnerable and say, I need this help. Because if you don't ask for it, if you let your life and the busyness take over, if you let all your old wounds and patterns come back into play, then you're just going to stay in the same cycle for years and years. It's never going to break. And there's no one else to blame. Yeah, somebody else treated us like shit. Yes, they said shit. They were narcissistic. They may have physically or emotionally abused us. But the cycle of continuation is our power of attraction. It's what we're bringing in instead of choosing to end that. Are you hurting from shame, loneliness, toxic relationships? Do you want to break that pattern and create a beautiful, loving life for yourself? Well, my name is Yats, and I'm an inner work and relationship guru. And I have helped thousands of women and men from all around the world learn to become their best selves and have the lives that they truly want and desire. This channel was designed for you to be able to heal those old wounds, be able to become and elevate your best self, and to you to love your life really that you have right now. And I offer an 8-week program called the GAUNTLET, which takes you on this amazing journey of healing those wounds. And I also offer in-person live retreats all around the world where you can access that same level of healing and empowerment. I want you to do something for you today. I want you to watch some of these videos. And if these videos hit close to home, they resonate with you and they're giving you some inspiration, then I want you to subscribe and share it with somebody else who needs it. These videos aren't just for someone to consume. They're meant to inspire people to take action. And if you want to take action in your own life, jump in the comments, watch the videos, send me a DM at The Inner Yats on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.